This is the voice of Wayne America.
Lighten up, Francis.
With your host,
Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Mike Carnes.
How do you measure yourself with other golfers? By height.
Only at WayneAmerica.com.
The supernova's gonna kill us all.
Okay, this guy is the real zero, that's true. Let's just think back when you guys were freshmen, huh?
.com.
Greetings from Wayne America. This is the Voice of Wayne America podcast, and exclusive here on WayneAmerica.com. I'm your host, Mike Carnes, and every week here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast, we sit down with somebody who has some kind of connection to Wayne, Nebraska, and talk about the best town in all of Nebraska, if not all of America, and that's right here in Wayne America. I want to thank our sponsors, including AKA 142 Media. Your business can also be mentioned here, so give me a call at 402-660-9682 or email Mike at MikeyCProductions.com for more information. The Wayne Area Chamber of Commerce has held a legislative forum here every spring for a long time now, and members of the Nebraska legislature will be in town once again this Friday at Gardner Hall on the campus of Wayne State College for their annual forum. I thought it'd be a good idea to sit down this week and talk with Wes Blecke, who's the executive director of the Wayne Area Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development, and the group helps sponsor the chamber forum that comes up every year. And I want to talk a little bit about this year's event, which includes a special guest this year, I understand, and I'm sure the local residents will want to be aware of that. Wes, I guess we'll start with the history of the legislative forum. This is something that the Chamber of Commerce has felt has been important to the community for a number of years, and has sponsored it. Most of the years it's been at Wayne State College. I know it's bounced around a couple places over the years, but generally it's been at Gardner Hall on the campus of Wayne State. Talk a little bit about the forum and I guess the importance of it from the chamber perspective.
You bet. Well, thanks, Mike, for letting me talk a little bit about it this morning. This is the 26th annual legislative forum, Northeast Nebraska Legislative Forum. I've been around for now, this will probably be my 11th one in a row. But so there's a long tradition here of inviting state senators up to Wayne and to Northeast Nebraska, really, and honestly, to showcase Wayne State College. It is an event that's always been co-hosted by the Government Affairs Committee of Wayne Area Economic Development, or the Chamber of Commerce, and then also with Wayne State College. So Wayne State College invites a lot of people to the luncheon. They help moderate the event, usually somebody on either faculty or staff. The president gives a welcome and those types of things. So it's a great way to get the senators up to campus, because otherwise they may not be in Wayne proper or the campus at all. We also invite other dignitaries there, as well as schools. And so this year we've got a couple schools that are going to be there, Ponca and Wayne, that I'm told. We invite schools from all across Northeast Nebraska, and sometimes they bring a few kids, sometimes they bring entire classes. So like Ponca and Wayne usually both bring their entire class, or pretty much that. So always good participation from students, that's for sure. Yeah,
I like the fact that the schools get involved in this, because it's a great opportunity for those young kids who probably have might have heard about the state senators on TV or in conversation with their parents or some of the other adults, that this is a time for them to kind of get to see these people in person and kind of get an idea of what they're dealing with and what their concerns are as far as what's going on in the legislature. So it's really a great opportunity for the kids to participate in this.
Absolutely, you get to see that senators are real people. It's not just some figurehead that's making decisions on behalf of you. They take what you say very seriously. These are, like I said, very common people that took the initiative to run for the office. Ours individual state senator, Joni Albright, is incredibly personable, and she wants your input, and she seeks it all the time. At least she does through our office, and so it's been a great relationship, and we got to know her obviously during the campaign cycle as well. But the big thing is to let people know that they're not untouchable by any means. They want your input. They value your input, and that's how they help make decisions. So it's just neat to see that up close and personal contact with these types of events.
Yeah, usually you get 3 or 4 senators from generally from Northeast Nebraska to come. I know in the past we've had I think state senator from York. I think we've had a state senator from Central Nebraska show up here in years past. But generally it's the 2 or 3 state senators from this part of the state that show up to this event. And I know Joni, I think, is one of them this year. Who else is planning on coming down from the legislature?
Senator Lydia Brosh will also be here. When we organize this, there's a few things we do. The first thing is we have to determine where we're going to hold it. Typically, it's Wayne State College for the last however many. I mean, out of the last 26 years, I bet it's been on campus 20 plus times because we want to get the senators to campus. Sometimes this just doesn't work out because there's other things going on with the campus calendar. Then you also have to marry that with the senator's calendar of when there are recess dates. Mm-hmm. You don't want it too soon in the session because then we don't know what we're going to talk about too soon. And if it's too late, it doesn't have any impact. So you got to kind of fit that in the middle ground, depending on if it's a short session versus a long session, et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of how we choose the date. The other thing is you've got to make sure your state senator is there. So I always make sure District 17 senator has to be present. Mm-hmm. So we first work with that calendar, make sure Joni can be here, and then you invite the rest of the state senators. Sometimes it works out well, sometimes it doesn't. This year we have just one other senator. We invite 7 usually. First 4 of this area, which would be immediately here would be Senator Scheer, or Speaker Scheer from Madison County, mm-hmm. Senator Albright, obviously ours, Senator Brosh from the West Point, Bancroft area, and then Senator Larson from District 40. So those are the 4 core senators, and then we reach out, and so this year we invited Senator Walls and Senator Breezy and Senator Shoemaker. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, only Senator Brosh can make it other than Senator Albright. But to have a forum, we always say you've got to have at least 2, and we've had as many as 4 before. Mm-hmm. And 4 stretches it a little bit with an hour and a half time length. We have lengthened the forum from 75 minutes to 90 minutes over the years. And it seems to work really well to have that 90-minute time frame. By the time you introduce people and have them close at the end, you've got a good hour's worth of question and answer.
Yeah, and it always seems to work out really well to have that time frame with 2 or 3 senators. You can get a lot of questions asked and get a lot of great feedback from both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on what senators are there. Some of them are very much ideologically the same, and some are very different. And so sometimes they'll just say, "Yeah, we agree with whatever he or she said," and other times there's a good back and forth. So you never know what you're going to get, and sometimes on different issues you're going to have that different back and forth. So We'll see how it all happens this year.
Now this year, of course, with only 2 state senators, it's always nice to have a third. We have a special guest coming this year. Talk a little bit about our special guest that's going to be with the 2 state senators this year.
Special guest is, I was going to say Dave Heineman, Governor Pete Ricketts. I guess I worked with Dave Heineman for a number of years, but no, Governor Pete Ricketts will be here for his 2nd year in a row. Last year it worked out that he was going to be in the area anyway, and had heard about it and then inquired, because we don't seek out the governor. I mean, it's a legislative forum, so we want the legislators involved. But how do you don't tell your governor no? You want him in your community as much as possible. So last year it worked out really well because he was going to be in the area. So this year I decided, well, what the heck, I'll give it a try. And I don't think he was meaning to be in the area. And so they purposely said, yeah, we'll come up to Wayne and be in your forum. And now he's going to do, I think, a couple things while he's in Northeast Nebraska. I think he's going to be in South Sioux after our forum. Mm-hmm. But so the governor will be here from 10:30 until 12 to sit in on the panel. And so we'll have that discussion. And that worked out really well last year. I'm not going to lie to you, I was a little concerned with it being heavily, the governor's going to get to do his spiel and get to really dominate the conversation. He did a great job last year of letting all the senators speak, and he just was one of them. And so, like I said, it worked out really well last year, so I'm anxious to see it to work that way again this year.
Now, you might have a little additional opportunity to talk about one of his side ventures, he being a part owner of the World Series champion Chicago Cubs, which I don't know that you're a big baseball fan. I don't know that you probably thought you'd ever hear that said in your lifetime, as long as it's been since the Cubs won a World Series. But I'm sure, obviously, with his team being the defending champions, he'll probably want to talk a little bit about that team as well.
He may. Last year, I don't think he said a whole lot about it because I don't know if they thought they were going to be that good or not. But yeah, after we're in the World Series, he may have a comment or two about it.
All right. So the governor will be here along with Joni Albright and Lydia Brosh from Bancroft. Will be here for the forum on Friday. So I wanted to take this time to answer the question: what does AKA in AKA 142 Media stand for? It stands for many things, but what's most important is that AKA 142 Media provides awesome kickin' apps that can be downloaded to your phone or your tablet, whether it's school, favorite youth sports program, or your local business. AKA 142 Media can build an awesome, kickin' app that meets your needs. Drop Kevin an email at kevin@aka142.com and tell him that Mike sent you. That's AKA 142 Media, awesome kickin' apps. We're talking with Wes Blecke, the Executive Director of the Wayne Area Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development, talking about the legislative forum that's coming up this Friday at Gardner Hall on the campus of Wayne State College, and that'll kick off about 10:30 a.m. on Friday morning. I know that the legislature is in session right now, been in session for a little over 2 months now, and going into their third month of their 90-day session, and I know that there's been a lot of concern about the budget shortfall. I know the revenue shortfall from last year was a pretty significant one, and they're trying to figure out the budget for the next 2 years for the state. And I know that there's a lot of concerns about that. I know you probably kind of keep an eye on a few things from a business perspective as far as how these things might affect businesses here in Wayne and Wayne County. What are some of the things you're seeing out of the legislature so far?
Well, with the governor's tax proposals, wanting to do some income tax cuts, obviously that's always a big topic with a lot of different businesses as well as residents. But business community typically likes to see those types of cuts. Especially a lot of businesses they file at a certain level, which are a lot at the individual rates. So I think the governor has some traction right now with what he'd like to do with some income tax cuts. Now you say, why would you be doing cuts when you've got a shortfall? Well, he's got a factoring method where it's not going to go into place, I think, until 19 or 20, and then only if the economy is growing at a certain rate would you actually see these cuts. So I think he's thought that through quite a bit. It's tough for people to wrap around. Why would you be cutting revenue or you're going to cut state revenue within income taxes when you have a shortfall? Now, there's all this trickle down stuff where you can say, well, cutting income tax is actually going to put more money in somebody's pockets, so they're going to spend more money, so you're going to get more sales tax, et cetera, et cetera. So it could grease the wheel, and the economy could take off because of it. So whatever your political philosophy on that, I'll leave that aside. But that has taken up a lot of conversation and will here towards the end of the session. They're trying to do a lot of things with property tax shifts and different things as well. I know the school is very interested on how that would all shake out. So a lot of things at play here, but it comes down to a lot of budgeting and taxes. That's a lot of times that's the name of the game anyway. Roads are last session was a very good session for roads. We're always interested in roads on the economic development standpoint, on to try to promote your community. You want the best roads possible for goods and services to come in and out. And so roads were protected very well last year. I should say they made improvements last year, and I think this year they're going to be protected, meaning we're not going to take anything away from them. So I think you can see the same things going forward this year in roads that you did last year. But from a business perspective, that's probably the two biggest things right now.
I know people in the community obviously concerned about property taxes, and particularly with the school districts. It seems like more and more the urban school districts are getting the vast majority of that school funding. The rural schools see very little of it, and that puts a lot of pressure on us as local taxpayers to have to deal with the property taxes. And then you throw on top of it, I saw a story last week from about the president of the University of Nebraska was talking about their budget shortfall is such that they could actually kill a campus right now, and it still wouldn't meet their budget needs. I think he said they could close the University of Nebraska at Kearney tomorrow, and it still wouldn't be able to be enough. And I think they're talking about like $50 million difference here. And I guess from my perspective as a Wayne resident, that makes me wonder, what kind of issues does Wayne State College have regarding the state funding that if the University of Nebraska is having such an issue. So it's going to be really interesting to see how the legislature handles that this session.
On the few conversations I've had with President Ramus, she has said, it is what it is. Yes, we would like to have more and things like that, but it is what it is. So let's do something about it. You got great leadership at Wayne State College right now with President Ramus. Same thing to the local school district with Mark Lenahan, Superintendent Mark Lenahan. He's always in front of things there, and he does a great job of lobbying for the small urban school, you could say, because that's kind of what Wayne gets caught into. Because you talk about Wayne's school district and how the valuation of Wayne School District and all the students that they're educating compared to other school districts, even in the immediate area, that have twice the value and have half the amount of kids. Mm-hmm. So it's a struggle for the Wayne School District on the financial side, just because of those numbers. But Mark's doing a great job with that, and we'll continue to focus on that. But that's tough when you see your property tax bill and it's like, as especially right now in the ag community, and it is as high as it is, and it's easy to point fingers and that type of thing. Well, you got to know the full story, and I think when people do that, they understand a lot better than just saying my taxes went up again. So hopefully the legislature can do some things on that. Again, you got to find money someplace to pay teachers, to pay state workers for roads. I mean, money's got to come from somewhere. And so when they say taxes increases, things like that, a lot of times it is just shifting it around from one to the next, and it's political decisions, and that's why we elect people to make those decisions on our behalf, and we just hope it's in the best interest of everybody involved.
Yeah, you kind of wonder when these legislative forums happen, what kind of a crowd that the senators are going to have to, I guess, deal with when they come in. I'd be interested to see how many people come in and express a lot of these concerns, and I'm sure that they're on top of it, and it's something that's at the front of their minds as they're trying to deal with these issues.
Well, it's very difficult when you're sitting there looking at $1 billion shortfall in the next 2 years as a state legislator, and people are complaining about taxes, and taxes need to go down. That's a tough situation to be in, where you want to respond to the voters, but at the same point you got to run state government and everything that goes along with it. So again, you got to get money from somewhere. So if you're gonna cut one place, you're probably gonna have to raise someplace else, and nobody wants to hear that. So it's a tough situation for them right now.
And it's especially tough for Nebraska legislators because we have. It's in the state constitution that the budget has to be balanced. You can't run a deficit budget like the federal government does, or states like California's got a multi-$100 billion budget deficit right now that they're trying to deal with. And of course the federal budget is 20 trillion or whatever you want to, whatever number it is. It's a number that we can't possibly fathom. But here in Nebraska, they're required to balance a budget when they approve that budget. It has to be balanced. So there's no kicking the can down the road with some of these issues that some other states are doing. Nebraska's got to figure out how to get everything to balance out by the time the legislature's done. So
and they do have a nice little rainy day fund right now, but now it's a matter of how much of that do we take to help balance a budget. Or do we take a portion of it and make cuts other places? So that's going to be the political questions going forward here. How to cut, how much of the rainy day to use, and all of that kind of thing. Because that's why you have the rainy day for these situations. But what if the same situation happens 2 years from now, and if you used it all, now you're in dire straits. So that's, again, they're paid the big bucks, the big $12,000 a year to make those decisions on our behalf.
Yeah. Talking with Wes Blecke, the Executive Director of Wayne Area Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development here on the Voice of Wayne America podcast. And your business can be a part of this podcast. If you're interested in being a sponsor of the Voice of Wayne America podcast, you can give me a call at 402-660-9682 or send me an email at mike@mikeycproductions.com, and we can talk to you about being a sponsor of the Voice of Wayne America podcast. Again, we're talking with Wes Blecke from Wayne Area Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development. I know it's the legislative committee of the that's part of the economic development that is putting this thing together. They get together every seems like every Tuesday morning, but particularly during the winter season as we get ready for this, and it's always great to see those people have an active involvement in the interest of the community, and I've been fortunate to be a part of that committee as well, and so it's really neat to see this thing get put together every year.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mike, for being a part of it. Yeah, if anybody is interested in getting involved with the Government Affairs Committee, we've tried to break out a little more. It used to be a lot only state issues. We've tried to do a lot more local stuff recently, with city council getting involved with that, mayor's races, and holding these forums to let people know who's running and give them an opportunity to listen to their candidates. But yeah, we meet typically every other week during the legislative session. Depending on if it's winding down and it's getting boring, and then all the decisions have been made, maybe we won't meet as much. But typically we meet starting in January through the session. But like I said, the last few years we've been meeting because we've been doing some local stuff in the fall. Now this year we probably won't do a whole lot of that because it's an off election year. But then every other year we would be busy in the fall as well. So no, like the group has expanded numbers, not only numbers but also what they're doing, and so I appreciate all their efforts of helping to coordinate some of these activities.
And it's neat from just from what I'm seeing. There's kind of an interesting mix of people. You have people who are involved in education. You have people involved in agriculture and banking and business in the community. So there's really kind of a good mix of representation of the community as a whole, as far as the involvement in that legislative affairs committee. So it's really great. And like I said, there's always room for another body and another point of view on things. So definitely, if you want to be a part of that legislative committee, get a hold of Wes here at the executive at the Chamber of Commerce here, and talk to him about it, because like I said, the more the merrier. More heads, more ideas.
Absolutely.
So this forum Friday at 10:30 at Gardner Hall, Legislative Forum. Lydia Brosh and Joni Albrecht from the Nebraska Legislature will be here, and of course the Governor of Nebraska, Pete Ricketts, also going to make an appearance to be a part of this forum as well. And then afterward, a little dinner with I think the two state senators are going to hang around. I think the governor has another commitment, so yes. But there'll be an opportunity for some people in the community to sit down and talk a little one-on-one with both state senators as well.
Yes, there will be little arm rubbing or a little elbow rubbing and stuff while they're sitting around talking about the events of the state. Unfortunately, you only have 2 of them this year, and so you don't get to spread the wealth quite as much as you might in other years. But hopefully they'll both be able to attend. I always tell people this because they're confirmed, but nothing's guaranteed. Something could come up where one of them can't make it, and we've had years in the past where I haven't heard from any senators, and then they just show up. So now this year I have heard from all of them but one. Senator Larson never responded, so he could show up. He never has in the past, but the rest of them that have popped in from year to year, they've all responded that they cannot attend. So I'm not anticipating any additional senators.
All right. Well, there'll be a great day, great opportunity to talk with the state senators, find out what's going on in the legislature, find out what they're thinking on stuff, and looking forward to being a part of that again this year. Again, Friday at 10:30 at Gardner Hall on campus, Wayne State.
And if you are available earlier than that, the Government Affairs Committee will be hosting Chamber Coffee at 10 o'clock in Gardner. Hopefully the senators will be there a little sooner than the 10:30 to be at coffee, so that you might be able to talk to them ahead of time. So 10 o'clock is Chamber Coffee, and then 10:30 is when the forum actually starts.
All right, so it'll be a busy day at Gardner Hall on Friday. As Wes said, the Chamber Coffee at 10 a.m. and then Legislative Forum starting at 10:30 with Senator Albright and Senator Brosh in attendance, as well as Governor Pete Ricketts, the governor of the state of Nebraska, and as we mentioned earlier, co-owner of the defending world champion Chicago Cubs. I never believed I would ever utter that statement in my lifetime, so I'm sure he'll want to talk a little bit about that as well. So, Wes, thanks a lot for talking on Voice of Wayne America this week, and we look forward to a very entertaining and educational and informative day on Friday.
Well, thank you, Mike, for having me.
All right, that'll do it for this week's edition of Voice of Wayne America here on WayneAmerica.com. Check back to WayneAmerica.com each week as we continue to tell the stories of the people who make this the best town in all of America, and that's right here in Wayne America. Have yourselves a good week. We'll see you later.